Hi, I'd like to do a story time about when I was 36 years old. I got a second chance at life and I got a double lung transplant. This will be part one because it's a very long story. So it all started in January of 2017 when I was 30 years old. Um, I was feeling sick, so I went to the primary care doctor and I was told I had an upper respiratory infection. She put me on antibiotics and told me to follow up with her like in a week or two. I followed up and I felt much better. I just had a consistent cough still. So then now we get to May. And I noticed that I wasn't able to walk a short distance without being out of breath. So I went to my primary care again and she did a chest x-ray and she's like, it looks like you have double pneumonia. So I'm going to put you some antibiotics and I want you to follow up with me in a week. And I still had the cough. The cough still wouldn't go away. And so I followed up with her in a week. And then she told me my lungs were worse once she did another chest x-ray. So she said, I'm not sure what's going on. We're going to transfer your care to a pulmonologist, which is a lung doctor. So I went and seen the lung doctor. He went over everything with me from the primary care. And he said, I'm gonna put you on prednisone. He gave me an inhaler and gave me another antibiotic to take. So I did that. Then we're in June of 2017. So I did that, and then we get to July 31st of 17. I'll never forget this day. I was on my way into work. I was walking through the skywalk to get to my office to get to the actual building. And I was walking very slow because, I couldn't walk very fast without being out of breath. So I didn't feel good that day at all, but I still went to work. I'm a person that I always go to work no matter what. So I couldn't make it to my desk. I ended up sitting at a coworker's desk so I can catch my breath. And the coworker was like, you don't look good, Tiff. You probably need to go home. And I said, no, I'll be fine. Just let me sit here and catch my breath. So at that time, the supervisor was coming in. The supervisor comes in. They're like, I need to go to the emergency room. He takes me to the emergency room and he calls my husband. My husband gets up there and they took me, to the back of the desk and did my vitals. And my oxygen level was only 70%. So they immediately rushed me back, put me on oxygen, I believe like 2 liters at that time. And all the doctors come in and they ask me 1,000,001 questions. I told them the whole backstory about the respiratory infection, about, the double pneumonia and everything that I was told. And so they're like, well, we're not sure what's going on, but something else is going wrong. So we're going to admit you in the hospital. So they admitted me in the hospital. I was in the hospital probably 5 days. They did a CT scan. They did another chest x-ray. They also did a procedure called a bronchoscopy. That's when they go down into your lungs and then they clean it out and look at everything down there. They did that, but they still couldn't figure out what was wrong. They knew something was wrong, and because my labs were off too, my white blood cell count was elevated. And but they still couldn't figure out a diagnosis for me. They thought I had lupus, but they wasn't sure. So I was discharged, and then the pulmonologist transferred my care to a different pulmonologist at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. So he transferred my care. I seen the pulmonologist there. I maybe had like 2 or 3 visits. And then so they decided to admit me in the hospital there so they can do more testing. They have, better equipment and everything there, more up-to-date stuff. So I get transferred there and I get admitted in the hospital. And maybe like the 3rd or 4th day, they diagnosed me with Sjogren's syndrome, pulmonary fibrosis, and pulmonary hypertension. Stay tuned for part 2 on what happened to me when I got admitted in the hospital.